Williams.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to an off-season live here on Dime Dropper, the 2025 NBA off-season, live from Los Angeles. As always, super chats are turned on. If you want to drop $1 or a dime, any donation is appreciated. And we've got some free agency news to talk about today. You can also listen to this episode on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I haven't been good enough about uploading on Spotify and Apple Podcasts with Dime Dropper lately, so please continue to check those. I've actually been uploading the last couple of days. I'm going to release some playoff recaps and post games and lives from this postseason that I just ended up watching the games late, so I didn't feel like releasing the post games like a week late. So I'm just going to release them now. If you're interested in any particular game I talked about in the playoffs, because I always hold myself to the standard of watching every playoff game, and I did not this offseason. Sorry, this not this postseason. So I want my channel to be a library of basketball where you can look at any playoff series and you can see what I was saying. And I want to have that for myself as well. But today, we're going to be talking about some free agency news. I haven't talked about the moves the last couple of days, but we are going to start out with the big news right here live from Los Angeles. As always, the Lakers have found their center, and it's a big name, so to speak. Of course, not an all-star yet in his 6-7 years in the league, but Deandre Ayton, the former #1 overall pick out of the University of Arizona in 2018, is now on the same team as the guy he was picked just ahead of in Luka Doncic. The news coming out just about an hour ago that the Lakers are picking up Deandre Ayton. When we heard that he was getting bought out by the Blazers, everyone was saying he's a Laker. He's a Laker. There's no contender that needs a center worse than the Lakers, maybe the Golden State Warriors. And I was just wondering, with him getting bought out, how much is he going to ask for on the market? And I did not think that he would go for less than $10 million per year. That is like, whoa, holy shit, your stock has dropped. And there's a reason for that. So we're going to be talking about that in this episode. But in my opinion, a huge win for the Lakers. I mean, Deandre Ayton, we're going to be talking about his pros, his cons. But, compared to what you were going to get in Mark Williams last year, I think with Mark Williams, we haven't seen him on a good team to kind of be able to judge him the way we judged Deandre Ayton, especially as a #1 overall pick back in Phoenix. But Deandre Ayton has been a starting center on a team that was 2 games away from winning a championship just 4 years ago. There is a lot of talent in there. And I think if we're just looking at this from a context of, are the Lakers getting better from last year with this move? It's not even a debate, yes. Because now you have not just a center, but I think DeAndre Ayton's a good basketball player. I don't think he's a great NBA player. He can be if he applied himself and he mentally wasn't so weird. I want to talk about that. But this is a good move. Like, if you're a Laker fan, I think you should be happy about the Mark Walter thing and the DeAndre Ayton thing. But the Dorian Finney-Smith thing, I talked about that in the last episode. Did I? Did I go live to talk about moves recently? Wow, I guess I didn't. Huh. Okay, so we'll talk about that today. We'll definitely talk about that today. But Dorian Finney-Smith leaving, he wanted 4 years on his deal, and he'll be 36, I believe, in 4 years. That may have been too much, for the Lakers, considering, he wasn't great in the playoffs. But I think Dorian Finney-Smith is who he is. He still shot 37% from 3 in the playoffs. He shot over 40% from 3 in the regular season. And in a lot of the games that the Lakers looked like a good defensive team because their switch everything unit had bigger forwards like Vando, Rui, LeBron, and Dorian Finney-Smith. And he's, not saying they have any great point of attack defenders, but it's either him or Gabe Vincent, best point of attack defender on the team. LeBron, maybe if he's trying. Dorian Finney-Smith was one of their best defenders, however you looked at it, and he can shoot the 3, and they traded D'Angelo Russell and second-round picks for him. So to lose him just like that, that's not very good business. However, he's making $13 million a year for the Rockets. I don't think it's that big a deal, though. You can always trade the contract. I think Dorian Finney-Smith has at least 3 more years of being a solid role player in this league. And I mean, are you telling me 4 years from now he won't be a decent maybe backup? It's not like you can't trade the guy. So I don't know. I don't think that was good to let him walk. But we'll see if the Lakers can replace him. If the Lakers can replace him with a good point of attack defender, that's all that matters, because that's what they're lacking. You got your center. If we're looking at their payroll right now, you got LeBron, who's opting into that player option, which gives him a little bit less financial flexibility because he's making $52 million, which is the highest paid on the team. Luka Doncic is going to be making $46 million next year. And then your third highest paid player is Rui Hachimura, $18 million on an expiring contract. I think that's solid. I mean, considering he was like the only Laker who I thought played up to his level, or if not better, during the playoffs, I think that's good. And then obviously Dorian Finney-Smith had the player option for $15 million, wanted more guaranteed money, opted out of it, and then the Rockets took him. So by the way, the Rockets to be getting Dorian Finney, actually no, I'll talk about them later. Austin Reeves, $13 million. Basically, it's closer to $14 million this upcoming year, which is one of the best contracts in the league, if we're being honest. Austin Reeves should be making like 25 mil, in my opinion, or 20 to 25 mil. He has a player option in 2027, which he's not going to be opting into. He will definitely look for a bigger contract. So then you have Gabe Vincent making $11.5 million. I mean, considering how much the Lakers play him, even though he had some really good stretches at the end of last season. By the way, the Twitter version of this video is going to be taken down. So if you want to go continue to listen to this video, come to YouTube. Come to YouTube. So I'm deleting the Twitter version right now. YouTube, the link is on my Twitter page. Shout out to everybody listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, by the way. All right, 50 people in the live. Shout out to everybody for this news about Ayton. So by the way, if you want me to check comments like as they're happening, super chats are turned on if you want to drop a dollar or a dime. My mod Bones got busy, asks how long before the Laker fans. I like how you did the LA capitalization like I do it. Before the Laker fans want him gone. Oh, the first Twitter post about somebody wanting him gone, I say let's go mid-November or December. Laker World Order Empire. Love this guy. Go subscribe to his channel, Laker Nation and Clipper. If you're a Clipper fan that wants to just hear Laker fans and support LA content creators, you can go do that. My boy Dime Dropper, only Clipper fan I like. Appreciate you, man. So let's talk a little bit more about Ayton, because that's the Laker payroll. You got Gabe Vincent, 11.5. Maxi Kleber is making $11 million this year. I don't know, is he going to play off the bench? Because technically, small ball kind of five, knocks down threes, athletic, not great defending one-on-one, but this is the kind of guy that I feel like JJ Redick would really like, Maxi Kleber. Then you've got Jared Vanderbilt making $11.5 million. This guy's, how many games did this guy play last year? 36 and 29 the previous year. I mean, him not being healthy is a problem. So him making that much money, I mean, he hasn't really played up to it. And then Jackson Hayes is a free agent. So right now the Lakers only have one center. Maxi Kleber. So maybe Maxi Kleber is going to be the guy that JJ Redick leans into with that backup. I wouldn't be surprised. Laker fans, how would you feel about that? But let's talk about Deandre Ayton as a starting center. So Deandre Ayton, he started out with Phoenix. First year, I mean, and by the way, my opinion of him at Arizona was that he was really good. He had post game. He can turn over either shoulder, which is extremely rare in today's NBA. And he had a mid-range. He had all the makings of a potential star center. However, the NBA at the time, we hadn't seen Jokic at his prime yet and Embiid have an MVP season. So we hadn't seen a center really dominate like that. And, the direction of the league was going towards perimeter players and heavy pick and roll. So I was like, if a team uses him properly and really feeds the guy, he can be a star, but I think he can be really good in the NBA. And defensively, he was a monster as well over at Arizona. Now, first year, 16-10 and played 71 games for obviously a terrible Phoenix Suns team, but was third in Rookie of the Year voting behind guess who? Luka Doncic and Trae Young. Luka Doncic, of course, being the third pick in that draft, and then Trae Young being the fifth pick in that draft, and then being traded for one another. One of the classic trades that obviously the Dallas Mavericks ended up winning, but who knows? If the Atlanta Hawks make it to the finals, they have a good team now. I'll be talking about them a little bit later. Then we'll see. Because Luka Doncic is no longer a Dallas Maverick. But DeAndre Ayton finished third in MVP voting that year. And then the following season is when he got hit with that doping scandal, when he was doing steroids or something. And he was averaging 18 points and 11.5 rebounds. So the one thing you want to see from a rookie or from a sophomore is you want to see them take that next step, And he did. 18 points a game, 11.5 rebounds a game, a block and a half a game, and shot 55% from the field. But he only played 38 games. And then, of course, pandemic. He didn't even play I don't believe, for the Suns in the bubble. When Devin Booker gamed us, the Clippers, my Clippers, with that shot. Oh, he did. He did play in the bubble. Okay. Only had one 20-point game. But actually, no. He had two 20-point games. Third year, this is when it gets where we start to watch him. We start to have eyes on him. And if you want to go back and check out my lives, post-game lives during every playoff game Deandre Ayton's ever played, I'm pretty sure I have one for every playoff game he's played. Now, if we're talking 2021, he was really damn good. You knew that bringing in Chris Paul was going to take touches away from him. It's just natural. Now, people would always think, well, CP3 is just going to make him better. Like, he's going to just get him more shots. But here's the thing about Deandre Ayton that I realized. He's not just a roll man. He's a guy that you can throw it down to and get a bucket. He's a guy that can go get his. He's efficient. He's got a good mid-range, and he can turn over either shoulder. If you can turn over either shoulder, you're basically unstoppable in the post. The thing is, how deep of post position is he getting? And that's something that I felt starting in 2021, I started to see. He didn't like being very physical. He couldn't guard Giannis, but that's not saying much. He's the only one that had a chance, by the way, on Phoenix to guard Giannis. When DeAndre Ayton was getting in foul trouble against Giannis, the Suns, that's where they completely lost that series. So I see Bones got busy posting lives of me talking about Ayton, I'm guessing. But yeah, literally like every single playoff game of his career I've talked about on this channel. And in 2021, he averaged 14 and 10 and a half rebounds. So his averages went down, but he shot 63%. So that's a result of getting a lot easier shots, having a pick and roll god like Chris Paul with you, but he's not getting as many shots. 10 shots a game in 2021 versus in 2020, the 2020 season, he was shooting 15 shots a game. So that's more of what you're probably going to see on this Laker team is he's going to be more of a roller. But I feel like I can't get to what my real take on DeAndre Ayton is until I actually go through it. So like I'm just going to keep going. But in our Western Conference Final Series, the Clippers versus the Suns, DeAndre Ayton was the best player. He crushed us on the offensive glass. He had the alley-oop game winner in game 2. He was just the biggest problem for us in that series. And he used to really get the better of Ivica Zubac, like having that in-between game, that mid-range, that push shot. You know, Zoo wasn't great at any. I mean, still doesn't shoot mid-ranges now. But he didn't really have that push shot the same way he does now. And Ayton used to take him away from the basket and used to give him some problems. He was more athletic than him. So I thought Ayton, you know, to say you're a third option, though, on a Western Conference Finals a Western Conference champion, that's huge. You know what I'm saying? That's huge. And in the playoffs, his averages went up. He averaged 16 and 12 to go along with a block a game on 66% shooting. But in the finals, you know, you saw that he was just kind of a little bit soft. You know, he wasn't very physical. He didn't engage in contact as much as you would like. And he doesn't post up deep enough. You know what I'm saying? Then we had 2022, where the Suns had the best record that they've had in franchise history. He did, however, miss 24 games that season, but in the games in which he played, they were 46 and 12. He had 33 double-doubles, so almost half the game that he played in, he had a double-double, and he averaged 3 more points, basically, than the last season, 17 points, 10.2 rebounds, and he actually averaged less than a block a game, 0.7 this season, and shot a career high at the time, 63, still a career high actually to this day, 63% from the field. Mind you, he shoots about 75% from the foul line. So that's pretty damn good for a center. So that was that was his best season at that point. 4th season in the league. You get the number 1 seed. And I can't lie, he went out sorry in the playoffs. And that's when it all began. He averaged 18 and 9 in the playoffs, which doesn't on 64% shooting, which doesn't sound that sorry. But if you're on average shooting 8 for 13 in games, you should be shooting more shots. But that's where the whole discussion comes around about DeAndre Ayton's attitude and what went wrong in Phoenix. So that when I noticed, and this was in 2022, I started noticing DeAndre Ayton would get fed in the beginning of games. He would dominate some games to start. And then as the game went on, crunch time, it was Booker and CP3 isolation. He would get looked off. He wouldn't get fed the ball. And you have to keep your big fella engaged. That's just something I learned playing basketball. You have to keep your big fella engaged. And DeAndre Ayton, he seems kind of moody. Never met the guy, but he seems like he can be, not the toughest minded for an NBA player, I'll say. And you saw the body language. You saw what was going on. It looked like Monty Williams was having issues with him. It looked like CP3. He had gotten annoyed with CP3. And so they went out pretty sorry. And Deandre Ayton is partially to blame as well. Everybody deserves blame in that Mavericks series, in my opinion. You had Devin Booker averaging only 23 points a game on 43% shooting. Deandre Ayton, his stats look good, but he only, I'm saying, he's not aggressive enough and they're not feeding him enough. And then CP3 shot really well, but averaged just 13 points and 6 assists, which is, not great for him. And in Dallas, he was horrific. And in game 7, he was bad too. He had a really good first 2 games though. But yeah, that's when I started thinking, okay, DeAndre Ayton needs to get fed more. But mentally, he looked like he didn't have much in him in that Dallas series. It looked like he went out kind of sorry. Then the whole controversy with his contract started. That's when I felt like he was not playing like that hard anymore because the Suns didn't pay him. You saw Indiana almost get him. They only matched that offer when they saw Indiana was going to do it, or Indiana was going to pay him that much. So we thought he was going to be a Pacer for a while. And then 2023, the Suns trade for KD. They go out in the second round of the Mavs, and it felt like DeAndre Ayton was just an afterthought at that point. 13 and 10 is what he was averaging on 55% shooting. In the regular season, he still averaged 18 and 10. So his efficiency dropped 59% from the field. But you knew that when they got KD, they were going to give the ball to Ayton even less. And that's when I thought maybe he's going to want to leave. And eventually it happened. It was soured, the relationship between him and Suns management. He goes over to Portland and he looked so excited to be there, which to me told you everything about how he felt about Phoenix, like how he felt about being there. And it was clear to me he didn't like playing with Chris Paul. He probably didn't like being coached by Monty in the end. But I think there's 2 sides of that. I think CP3 is not the easiest to play with. He is like a closeted, selfish player, in my opinion, where like he won't actually feed someone like Ayton all the time. He's going to look for, the pick and roll late in games. And I think that's also part of a modern NBA thing. How many times have we complained about Ivica Zubac's not getting the ball late in games and only in the first quarter? That is largely due to league direction. Teams wanting to play pick and roll, and they feel like they can generate clean open threes and dribble penetration better with that, the perimeter game, than the post-up game. So that's just something that teams need to do a better job of is, maybe when they're not just a Jokic, someone like Ayton giving you the ball to get a shot, even when, you have better players out there and it's not a big possession like last possession, but I'm talking in the whole fourth quarter, you're looking him off. That's going to make a big man, especially a young kind of, not the strongest minded that thinks he deserves better, a little upset. But here's where I can't make excuses for Ayton. I think Laker fans need to be worried. When he went to Portland and he looked so excited to be there when he got his jersey and all this shit, I was like, okay, no excuses. This team is a tanking team. You better get buckets. You better play with fire. And you know what I saw? First game at the Intuit Dome was his first game as a Blazer. Oh, no, it wasn't his first game at the Intuit Dome. It was his first game against us opening night when we kicked their ass. I remember doing a preview for that game on Locked On Clippers, which, by the way, I'm still doing Clipper content 5 days a week, rolling out episodes. So please go check those out if you want more Clipper content. But I remember doing a preview for that game, and I was like, oh, man, Ayton always kills us. Like, Ayton was a Clipper killer. I was like, he's going to come out first game with his new team, and he's going to make it a close game because he's going to dominate Zoo. No, he sucked. He didn't do anything. And so the fact that you're only taking 0.4 more shots on the Blazers than you are with the Suns is an embarrassment. He shot 57% from the field for the Blazers his first year and played 55 games. Whoop-de fucking do that he shot 55%. They went 14 and 41. And if your team is bad and you're the number 1 pick, I know you're a center, you're post-up center, and it was Scoot Henderson's rookie year. Scoot Henderson got moved to the bench. Like, you're telling me you're only shooting 14 shots a night? 14 shots a night. Averaging 17 and 11. You averaged more points the last 2 seasons with stars on your team. Like, I would get if you were averaging less points because the efficiency was down because everyone's honing in on you, but that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? It's weak. So I lost a lot of respect for Deandre Ayton last season. And then this past season, he only played 40 games. He felt like kind of an afterthought. He averaged 14 and 10, and he shot 57%. I didn't watch the Blazers that much, so I'm not going to tell you how well he played defensively, but here's what I will tell you. The Phoenix Suns would have been a lot better if they never traded DeAndre Ayton. For all the criticism we have about the Bradley Beal trade, the Ayton trade was worse. Nurkic, and then they traded Toumani Camara in the process. Ayton actually played defense. Ayton blocked shots. Ayton wasn't a great rim protector, but he was a good enough rim deterrent that I think I consider him above average, and his foot speed was pretty solid, and he was athletic, and he has solid hands. So this is going to be a huge upgrade for the Lakers, in my opinion. But I haven't seen him play defense in a couple of seasons, like locking in on it since he was a Sun. But I thought he was a good defender when he was a Sun, all things considered. Now, when you look at, he had good mobility. He's a true 7-footer. But the Blazers last season, they were a really solid defensive team. They actually ended the season 16th in defensive rating, but when they had their good stretch, they were locking teams up. As far as Ayton, I looked at which lineups that played a minimum of 50 minutes on the Blazers had the best defensive rating, and DeAndre Ayton is in the second and third best, but the best defensive rating by a landslide, an insane defensive rating of just 81.6. They played a total of 70 minutes together this season. Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, Denny Avdia, Toumani Camara, and Donovan Clingan. So not Ayton, but those stats are bullshit. Like, to me, defense is about the eye test. I can look up, I don't know which website, I can look up, what the percentage was when DeAndre Ayton was contesting shots. But I know DeAndre Ayton is again, not the best rim protector, but he's a good enough rim deterrent that I think. And plus, look at what he gives you offensively. It's going to be hard to guard the Lakers in pick and roll. He's not the best lob threat. He's not the most athletic, leaper. But that push shot in the lane, that's going to be something the Lakers, it's like they had with Anthony Davis in a way. And that pick and pop mid-range, it's going to be great with Luka and LeBron. I think he makes you more athletic as a team overall, gives you a little bit more youth. But the main thing with Ayton for me is, look, he's like the fourth option, so he's not going to be getting the touches that he thinks. Like, if you think you weren't getting the ball with CP3 and Booker in the post, you're not going to be getting it here. He's going to be mostly a roller. So you had your chance to kill on your own team. You didn't do anything. So now you have to buy into just being kind of a role player, and maybe you can be a championship level role player. But how hard is his effort level going to be on a nightly basis? Because there's nowhere to hide in Los Angeles for the Lakers, DeAndre Ayton. Nowhere. You are going to have the biggest magnifying glass of any team you've ever played for. Almost half your games are going to be on national television. So you got to perform. And I think the shot making will be fine. He's been efficient his whole career. I think it's about the defense and the rebounding. How engaged is he going to be? What's his body language going to be like? How hard is he going to be playing on a nightly basis with this team that, Luka Doncic, every year he's playing right now, he wants to contend for a title. LeBron James, I'd be shocked if he doesn't want to contend for a title when he's chasing, GOAT status, or maybe people think he's already the GOAT. He wants to solidify his argument more. He wants to win. Probably not as much as Luka, given that he hasn't won a ring, but, he wants to win. Austin Reeves wants to win. So the pressure's on for DeAndre Ayton, but I think overall this is a good move. He's much better than Jackson Hayes. You have a legit center now. I think the next step for the Lakers, though, is you got to get point of attack defenders, especially with trading Dorian Finney-Smith, even though he was kind of more of a switchable size kind of guy that can guard up. Gabe Vincent as your best point of attack defender is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. And I don't see LeBron, every single night giving his all defensively and guarding the best player. Like, that's not going to happen at this age. And that didn't happen for him ever because, for his first 11, 12 years, it was a positional, 13, 14 years, a positional league. And then it was, just kind of matchup dependent. You would always have your best players on the guys that are going to do less offensively so they can save their energy for offense. So less, yeah. But that's it. That's all I got to say about DeAndre Ayton. It's a good move. He's going to help the Laker defense for sure. He's a better defender than Jackson Hayes, no doubt. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a great defender, but I'm not going to go off stats. I'm going to go off my eye test. And my eye test remembers that he was a good defender in Phoenix. But let's see how he does with the Lakers. Now we're going to be able to see it every night. But now let's talk about some of the other moves that are being made in the league over the last couple of days. Bones got busy. If you're still in here, if any of my mods are still in here, I only talked about a couple of moves, so I think I know which moves I haven't. All right, let's go through some of them. Dante Exum, 1-year deal with the what team was it? with the return to the Mavs. Solid. I thought he was pretty good for them last year. Spencer Dinwiddie's going to Charlotte on a 1-year deal. He averaged 14 points last season, 6 assists. I think he's going to be able to just score points there. Knicks hiring Mike Brown. That's relevant information. Knicks hiring Mike Brown. So obviously they got off Tom Thibodeau. I'm not going to talk about the Knicks playoff run because I have content planned on that. So, you guys don't even know my take on all that. I haven't even seen all the games yet, if I'm being quite honest. So, I know my boy All Ball wanted Tom Thibodeau gone, and I think he did an amazing job reviving the Knicks in his, what was it, 5 years or 6 years that he was there. I know he was there for 2020, 2021, but was he there 2019, 20? I think it might have just been those first 5 years or those 5 years. But Mike Brown is good. I think he was unfairly done in Sacramento. I think they used him as a scapegoat in ways. They just felt like they had to make a change, Monty McNair, and they did because they fucked up the offseason by getting DeMar DeRozan and not addressing any of their concerns. But I think it's a good hire. I think he's going to fit in with the New York culture, and he's going to really be a good hype man, and it'll be very interesting to see the style of play that he coaches with. But yeah, that's Mike Brown going to the Knicks. I think if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm happy about it. Mike Brown did a good job with Sacramento. He did a good job in Cleveland. Obviously, the Lakers didn't end up too well, but I think it was a little harsh on him, that firing as well. Sorry. Apologies. Let's see what else we got. Trey Mann has agreed to a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Charlotte Hornets. He was already there. Duncan Robinson to the Pistons, basically replacing Tim Hardaway Jr. I think it's a pretty solid move for him, going back to Michigan. So Miami Heat lose a guy that had been there a couple of years in Duncan Robinson. It was also a sign and trade. Simone Fontecchio to Miami. I could see him fitting in pretty well there. But yeah, Duncan Robinson, his tenure with the Miami Heat has come to an end after 6 seasons. Obviously made the finals twice and was a pretty big part of those teams. Averaged 11 points this past season on 44, 39, 89 splits. So that'll be a good player for Cade Cunningham. Get him more shooters, especially to replace Tim Hardaway Jr. And if we're talking straight 3-ball, I would definitely take Duncan Robinson over Tim Hardaway Jr. Then Clippers waived Drew Eubanks. That's good. He's going to go to the Kings on a 1-year deal. If they plan on having him as their backup center, my goodness. Thank God. Drew Eubanks, I said he was asked when we got him, and he only proved that he was asked because Tyler didn't give him many minutes, and when he did, he sucked. Now, here's some good moves. The Denver Nuggets. Again, I'm not going to talk about their series against against OKC, because believe it or not, I hadn't watched all the games, so I'm going to release content on it. But we knew that MPJ didn't play well enough in our series and that his development had kind of stagnated. So to trade MPJ for Cam Johnson, who's a better ball handler, better defender, I think he plays up to his potential and might more consistently on a nightly basis, has been a role player backup on a finals team, on a 64-win team. Although MPJ was a starter on a finals team and a big part of it, but I think with his injuries as well, he's very just questionable. Very questionable. So I think it was a very good move for the Denver Nuggets to bring in Cam Johnson and then bring in Tim Hardaway Jr. They definitely needed more spacing, so get a good 3-point shooter off the bench. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr., part of that Detroit Pistons team last year that made it to the playoffs and had a very good game 1 of the playoffs. 11 points last season, shot 41, 37, 85.5 splits. Of course, most of his shots come from 3. But yeah, I think the Denver Nuggets really looking better. And then they also got Jonas Valanciunas. So I think Jonas Valanciunas he's definitely going to have moments where he's going to get exposed in the playoffs. But we're talking about a guy who is an actual decent backup. And when was the last time the Denver Nuggets had a backup for Jokic that was competent? Even when they won the championship, they were playing Jeff Green as a small ball 5. So I think been a really solid offseason so far for the Nuggets, trying to get themselves back in title contention. The question is, what about Westbrook? He opted out. I think he should go back. I think he had a good season, but again, I haven't watched all the games of that Thunder series, and I know he wasn't as good, and he dealt with an injury, so we'll see. I think if anything, the flaw there is that Westbrook had too big of a role if you had to rely on him that much. I think he should just be a backup that comes in for some spot minutes. But anyway, Celtics signed a 2-year $5 million, or Josh Minott signed a 2-year $5 million deal. $5 million deal with the Celtics. He played pretty well in the minutes that I watched for Minnesota last year, but don't know much to say. Don't know how much I got to say about that. Jakob Poeltl, $104 million extension with the Raptors. So that'll be interesting to see Jakob this year with Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. That team hypothetically should be a play-in team easily. I mean, we should be talking potential playoffs with that team. And then you've got the spacing, though. That's going to be a little rough. Kings get Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder's been bouncing around, man. Jesus, from team to team. He's going to be going over to the Sacramento Kings, and I think he's going to start most likely. So Dennis Schroeder, he'll be guarding at the point of attack, which will be good. You got Zach LaVine, DeRozan, and Sabonis. I mean, it's literally the Bulls again. Like, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, the Kings, I really don't know what direction they're going in. So, yeah, 4 years, $104 million for Jakob Poeltl. That's about $25 million a year. It's a pretty good contract for him. Is he worth that much? Let me know in the comments, Raptors fans. Let's see what he was averaging last year. I like Jakob Poeltl at Utah. I went to one of the only USC games I've been to. He literally dominated Chimezie Metu. Okay, last season he averaged a career-high 14.5 points a game. He averaged a career-high 9.6 rebounds a game, so essentially 15 and 10. 3 assists, which was also a career high, 1.7 blocks, and he shot 63% from the field. Okay. It's the defense that, I don't know. Like, I have to watch him more. I know he's a decent rim protector, but he's not a great defender. Moving his feet, not great, but how good is he of a drop big? That's something I would only know if I watched him every night or watched him in a playoff series closely, and Jakob Poeltl has never been a starter on a playoff team. So, yeah, Jakob's career trajectory so far was with the Raptors the first 2 years, came off the bench, was 12th in Sixth Man of the Year voting in 2018, and then got traded for Kawhi and spent 4.5 years with the Spurs, and then he's back with the Raptors. So, pretty funny career trajectory for Jakob. And then, let's see what else we got. Sandro Mamukilishvili, 2 years to the Raptors. Who cares? Jericho Sims is going back to the Bucks. That was expected. So, yeah, 3 years, $45 million with the Kings for Dennis Schroeder. That's going to be $15 million a year. Yeah, he should probably be starting. Milwaukee Bucks trading Pat Connaughton, the man from St. John's Prep over in Massachusetts, I think in Danvers. Pat Connaughton getting traded to... and 2 of their own second-round picks for Vasilij Micic, Serbian sensation. He's older, though. I don't know. Is he even going to stay? Oh, I know what I have to talk about. Damian Lillard. Man, Damian Lillard getting, like, what do they even call that? Stretched their contract and waived? That was insane. I mean, the Bucks really wanted to get off of him that badly. I guess it's cool for Lillard, but he's coming off a torn Achilles. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get the job that he thinks he's going to get. We'll see. But I was harsh by the Bucks, man. They just wanted to make some room for Miles Turner, which I was shocked about. I was shocked the Raptors didn't bring back Miles Turner. The Pacers. But again, I got to keep watching the playoffs because maybe there's stuff I don't know about the way he played. But man, his tenure as a Pacer comes to an end. I think it's a good get for the Bucks, especially with Brook Lopez coming to us. And by the way, if you want to hear about Brook Lopez coming to us, I guess I'll touch on it here as well. But check out Locked On Clippers. But yeah, he's gonna be better than Brook Lopez. Yeah, he's younger. But I don't know about the waving Dame thing. It just felt a little bit harsh. You just got him, you traded for him. It was supposed to be the new era with him and Giannis. Unfortunately, it's been marred by injuries the first 2 years, but it's harsh business, man. But I don't think Dame's too upset. I don't think he loved Milwaukee as a place. And we'll see. He'll have some freedom when he comes back, but he's older getting that Achilles tear. So we'll see. These links that you're posting, Bones got busy in the chat. Can you please tell me what it is? Because all I see is a YouTube link. Oh, the Brook Lopez LLC. Good man. All right. Gary Harris going over to the Milwaukee Bucks on a 2-year deal. Gary Harris, I haven't heard about him really since he was a Nugget. Sacramento was they traded Jonas Valanciunas for Saric. So, and Jonas Valanciunas had some good minutes off the bench as Sabonis' backup. I don't understand what they're doing. But yeah, Shams posted a stunning release of Damian Lillard to acquire free agent center Miles Turner on a 4-year, $107 million deal. So about $26 million per year. I think that's a good deal for Miles Turner. I think he's worth that in today's market. But Damian Lillard, man, I guess they knew that Miles Turner would help them next year, and they don't want to waste years of the Giannis window. But who's their point guard going to be? The Bucks found a creative path to waive and stretch Damian Lillard, whose $113 million contract will be stretched over the next 5 seasons, while leaving their future draft assets untouched. So they didn't have to trade him. Because nobody was going to take him. But man. And by the way, he says that Miles Turner wanted to remain in Indiana, but it was a tax thing. Indiana's aversion to the tax, which grew after Tyrese Halliburton's injury, allowed Bucks to get the new franchise center. So who's going to be the Pacers center? They had a lot of good offensive moments with him as the 5-out, having him in the 5-out scheme. Jalen Smith? I don't think so. Gershon Yabusele. I wanted the Clippers to get him, man. Great get by the Knicks for $12 million. 2 years, $6 million a year. He was awesome for the Philadelphia 76ers last year, and I would know because I watched a lot of their full games on Paul George Hate Watch. Really good get for Yabusele, or for the Knicks. Really good get. And then OKC reached the 4-year, $285 million super maximum contract extension with Shea. He deserves it. Good for Shea. Arguably the best player in the league now. Gary Trent going back to the Bucks, 2 years, $7.5 million is nothing. I think that's a really good deal. He can give you some shooting off the bench. Trendon Watford, 2 years, $5.3 million, going to the Sixers. Jordan Clarkson going to the Knicks. I love it. I think you're really getting some pieces. Gershon Yabusele now coming off the bench, and then you have a guy that can actually come off the bench and get a bucket for them. I'm going to talk about this when you hear about my takes on the Knicks playoff run, but they needed someone that can come on and get a bucket, and Jordan Clarkson gives them that. Deuce McBride, Shamet, Achua, these guys they were playing in the playoffs, they're not going out there and creating their own shot. I think Jordan Clarkson is a good guy to have for that. And now JC is back in a situation like he was with Utah, where you're on a contender off the bench. And let me tell you something. Same way about Deandre Ayton. There's nowhere to hide for Jordan Clarkson. If he's on Jordan Clarkson time, MSG is going to rip him apart. So, yeah, Jordan Clarkson, DeAndre Ayton, the best version of themselves. That's all that matters. Now, what else we got? So, the Knicks, look, with the Celtics injured and the Pacers injured, it's the Knicks and the Cavs for me. You got teams like the Hawks, the Magic, the Pistons, the Dark Horses. But if you're the Knicks and the Cavs, you got to bring it to the finals next year, man. You got to. Taurean Prince going back to the Bucks. I think the Bucks are bringing some of the right guys back. I think Jericho Sims, Taurean Prince, KPJ. I think these guys were good for them last season. But who's their point guard going to be? Mason Plumlee's going back to Charlotte. At this point, he's just trying to stay in the league. Luke Kennard, good old Nuke, going to the Hawks on a 1-year, $11 million deal. I think he'll be great around Trae Young. But, game 1 of the playoffs last year, or this past season, he got no burn. So that was concerning that entering the playoffs, he was not in the rotation. But I think he could be great next to Trae Young. Nigel Hayes is going to the Suns. Good old Nigel Hayes from the Wisconsin Badgers. He was playing for Fenerbahce in Turkey. Wonder how good of an NBA player he's going to be, but I don't think he's going to play like that. But who knows? Maybe he will. Tyus Jones, 1 year, $7 million to the Magic. So his son's tenure was very short-lived. Just 1 year was part of the reason they didn't make the playoffs, but he also wasn't bad. I just think who he wasn't what they needed in as big a role as they wanted him in. But I think this is a good move for the Magic, especially because they traded Cole Anthony in the Desmond Bane trade. So, maybe you could say it's guard overkill. But no, I think they need some shooting, and I think Tyus Jones can do that for them. Tyus Jones Anthony Black coming off the bench. I think that's solid. Or maybe they want to start him. I mean, how long is Jalen Suggs going to be out? I don't think Jalen Suggs is coming back, so he'll probably start. 10 points a game last season for the Suns. He shot 41% from three. The Magic could use that. They could absolutely use that. So you might be going with Tyus Jones, obviously Paulo Franz, and then Wendell Carter and Desmond Bane. And when Jalen Suggs comes back, maybe you move Tyus Jones to the bench. You got Anthony Black coming off the bench, Jonathan Isaac. So let's keep going. I think that's a solid move. Then here's a big one, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I know a lot of Clipper fans are talking about using the mid-level exception on him. I don't think we need more point-of-attack defense like that. I think what was most important is a power forward and a backup center. So Atlanta's sending a 2027 second-round pick that the Cavs traded them, and that they likely got from the Karis LeVert trade, and cash to the Wolves to acquire Nickeil Alexander-Walker via sign and trade for 4 years and $62 million. So the Hawks are getting Nickeil. I love the vision that they have right now. They're going for put a bunch of defense around Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, and a bunch of athleticism like Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Johnson. I talked about Dyson. Now you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You have some guys that want to go out there and guard. So the Hawks, of course, they're going to be in play-in territory, but they got to be in playoff territory next year. And then Porzingis. The Hawks got Porzingis, and I talked about that in the last one briefly. But Porzingis, Okongwu, like their top sixes. And then Reese Shea. You got Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Reese Shea as their starters. I doubt they're going to go with Nickeil Alexander-Walker over Reese Shea, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu or Porzingis. We'll see what they do. But that is a pretty decent squad. I think is it the best squad that Trae Young has ever had? I don't know. That 2021 team was pretty good, but it's the one that makes the most sense around him. And that was a weak year for the NBA in terms of top-heavy teams. It was so open. That's why the Clippers should have won. Luke Garza is going to the Celtics. They finally signed a center, but is Luke Garza ready to get backup center minutes for a team that wants to be in the playoffs? I don't know. Then we get to Brook Lopez. So for the Clippers, if you haven't heard what I think about Brook Lopez, go to Locked On Clips, but I think it was great. I think he's old, but the franchise is telling us, guys, that they don't care about old. You know what I'm saying? They just want whoever's going to make the team better right now. And 2 years, $18 million, $9 million a year. Brook Lopez has not been a backup since ever. He's never been a backup. When we talk about Brook, the fact that he hasn't been a backup, now you're putting him in that role. I think he's definitely going to be good enough to do it. He can stretch the floor and gives us a pick and pop big that we have not had since really, what's his name? Ibaka. And that didn't really pan out. So it's actually amazing that we got Brook Lopez. And also I love Brook Lopez. In my high school years, like 2013, my freshman year of high school, I would literally argue so hard at school. Like Brook Lopez is the most underrated center in the league. He's the most underrated player in basketball. I loved him because he had post game, he had mid range. He was really good on that 2013 Nets team. And then he got injured, and he was never really the same after that, in my opinion. But he had some good years with the Nets. He's the all-time leading scorer in Nets history because they don't. I wonder if you counted the ABA, would he still be? Probably not, I would think. But he spent 9 years with the Nets. He was an all-star in 2013, the year I was referencing. He's a two-time all-defensive player, and he was literally second in Defensive Player of the Year voting 2 years ago. And here's the best part about Brook. I talked about his injuries, but in recent years, the last 3 years, 78 games, 79 games, and 80 games played the last 3 years. So when you look at it, we have two bona fide 7-footers in Zoo and Lopez, both of them that can block shots. They're both somewhat drop coverage merchants exclusively, but they're going to block shots. We now have a pick and pop big to back up Zoo. It's a great move, in my opinion. And he has championship experience. Are we old? Are we geriatric? Are we going to struggle against young teams? Absolutely. But are we getting better? For sure. Brook Lopez being on the Clippers is going to be kind of crazy. Like he played 1 year for the Lakers, and that looked weird. His Bucks tenure was fantastic. I wonder which tenure he'll be remembered more for. It should be the Nets because he was better with the Nets. But he did win a championship with the Bucks, which is very relevant. So he's had a great career. And I'm very happy that we're going to have him on the Clippers. We're going to hear his deep ass voice talking to Joey Lynn and Law Murray and Furbod. Like the way he talks, I don't know. That was probably not a good impression of Brook Lopez. I can't probably get my voice that deep, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited to have him. And it's a great move, in my opinion. But now the next step is we got to go out and get a power forward. And we're going to have to trade probably either Bogey or Norman Powell. If we don't get a power forward, I don't know. We're going to play starting Chris Dunn, James Harden, and Norm again. Small. It'll still be a really good team, but it's not really like showing that you're trying to give Kawhi and Harden a chance to like win a title in theory. Because again, as you know, if SGA, what if SGA gets hurt or something? My thing about the Clippers is, can their legs last the full playoffs? Honestly, I think if you put all these different Western Conference teams and said first round against the Clippers, everybody fresh, I'd probably take us over most teams except for OKC. Besides OKC, if we got a power forward, this Denver team though, they're gonna be tough now. But that's my take on Brook Lopez. I'm pretty happy about it. It's going to be fun having Brook Lopez because I'm a big fan of his. We're old, but he's going to be better for us than, look at the last couple of backup centers we've had. We have one of the best center rotations in basketball to me. Karis LeVert going to the Pistons, 2 years, $29 million. I love that for them. He can come out and get a bucket. He's another guy that can create shots around Cade. We don't know how much longer Jaden Ivey's going to be out. So it's going to be, if you guys know when these guys are coming back, by all means, please let me know. By the way, super chats are still turned on. If you want to drop $1 a time, appreciate the 68 people in here for the Deandre Ayton live signing reaction. These moves will all be timestamped at the end of this video because I'm talking about so many moves. But Clint Capella going to Houston. I think this is very interesting because they already have Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün. So 3 years, $21.5 million. He's getting $7 million a year. You saw sometimes they went with the two big lineup of Şengün and Adams. Again, I got to watch their Warriors series and make a breakdown on it because I don't know how well that worked out for them in the playoffs. But in the regular season, it was good. And so I think it's because Steven Adams misses games a lot and they want to have insurance. And so it's a feel-good story to have Clint Capella. But I think someone else made a very relevant point. The bodies to throw at Joker. And that's not a crazy thing to say. They have a ton of size now. They got Jabari Smith, Kevin Durant, Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, the Rockets are going to be serious next year. Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet. Like, is there one bad defender in that team? Şengün got better defensively. He might be their weakest one. It's a good-ass team. Like, they got a chance. I don't think they're going to win a championship, though, because KD is not like that people think. But they're going to get far. They're going to be good. If they don't win a first-round series, we're going to have some serious conversations about KD, unless he, goes off and plays well. But, by the way, that episode of Mind the Game was very interesting. I enjoyed it. And LeBron, he always does a great job of proving me right about everything. Like, thank you, LeBron, for telling me that you always have never been sharp with your pull-up going right or just shooting going right in general. He admitted it. He always tells you everything I say. I told you I have a PhD in Bron. I told you guys this. I've watched more Bron than anyone in my life. I've watched every playoff game he's ever played from start to finish. Come on, son. And watched a bunch of regular season games he's played. Like, he doesn't have to. And KD admitted that it was harder to score back then. They always admit everything. They always admit everything that I tell you guys, except there's some times in there where LeBron tries to sprinkle in his own narrative, which I hate. And those clips go viral. Like, I didn't agree with Steve Nash's point about Darius Garland, that he would be like he's playing in the wrong era. Like, defensively, he's getting picked on more maybe, but offensively, the game has never been better for players like you, Steve Nash, like Darius Garland. And Darius Garland theoretically playing in the 60s and 70s would not be a thing because the way he dribbles is completely illegal. So let's just take that away if you want to do cross-era comparison. 80s, it's still illegal. 90s, now we're talking. Now some of the stuff, you had Tim Hardaway, Isaiah Thomas, Magic, and Jordan were carrying the ball relatively. Iverson comes into the fray. I don't know if 90s basketball, though, is better for a small guard like Darius Garland. Like, history does not tell us that. Steve Nash, including you. I think he plays in the right era. I think maybe you can say mid to late 2000s, he would have had more success because the game is not better for offensive players back then. I don't know what you're talking about, but I think it's defense. Defense for a small guard. Yeah, they pick on you more now in the pick and roll, but you were still getting picked on by certain big guards back then. But I guess now it's easier to target you. So in that way, that's relevant. But It's funny though, because like I like Steve Nash a lot as a guy, and I do like him as a basketball player too. I just like hated him in the moment. So I just like have some bitterness towards him. But he like ushered in this style of play. Like he is that. The Suns are what changed the game. Like people didn't start going to it because till the Warriors won. Appreciate you, King Charles. But the Suns are the one that started paving the way for this modern NBA. Boris Diaw at the 5. Do you remember that in 06? Boris Diaw at the 5 with Tim Thomas, Sean Marion, Rajah Bell, and Steve Nash. So they just run high pick and roll, pick and pop. That shit was tough to guard. So you goes Sean Marion and Tim Thomas and Diaw could all put the ball on the floor too. Luke Cornett, 4 years, $41 million with the Spurs. I mean, Jesus, man. So the Celtics, if they lose Al Horford, they better hold on Al Horford, because losing Porzingis and Luke Cornett, all they have is Luke Garza and Neemias Queta. I think Neemias Queta could be a good backup, but Al Horford's going to start at this age? I don't know. Luke Cornett to the Spurs is crazy. They have such a good team, like a young team. Like they should be easily in the maybe playoffs. You got Wemby, you got Fox, you got Castle, you got Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Sohan, Dylan Harper. I mean, that now Luke little red cornet. I mean, they're going to be nice. Come on, Looney's time in Golden State has ended. He's going to the Pelicans. 2 years, $16 million. Good for him. The Pelicans, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they have DeJounte Murray's going to be out. They got Zion. They got Jose Alvarado. I think Trey Murphy is going to be great. Herb Jones, hopefully he'll be all good to go. And then Yves Missy's good. I don't see them making the play-in next year, though, honestly. But you never know. You never know, because Zion's a beast. If he can stay healthy, just like, is that possible? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. What else we got? D'Lo to the Mavs. I thought that was a good move. Obviously, he's going to be most likely starting with Kyrie Irving out, so it'll be a great role for him. But it's going to also put pressure on him to produce. And we know, Laker Nation, that D'Angelo Russell is very hit or miss. Like one night you'll get him going crazy. Yeah, Queen as well, the guy they just got in the draft. But he can go crazy and be engaged. And then other nights he looks like he doesn't even care. So, but I will say this, having the ball in your hands, more so than he did with LeBron and Austin Reeves on a good team, I think is the best role for him, kind of like with Minnesota. But that's what he is. Like he's a starting point guard on a team that's like 7 or 8 seed type of deal. But the Mavericks, I mean, I think they got a fun squad. You got D'Lo. When Kyrie comes back, it's going to be serious. But D'Lo, Cooper Flagg, AD, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. Then you got Dante Exum. I mean, this team is going to be fun. I think it'll be a fun team. Bruce Brown. I forgot about Bruce Brown going back to Denver. Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen Bruce Brown play since Game 5 of that finals with Denver. But, hey, he might not be as good as then, but getting him back cannot be a negative, I don't think. So the Nuggets are making some good moves. Then you got KPJ going back to the Bucks. Ty Jerome to Memphis. I mean, obviously, they gave up Desmond Bane. So I think they get worse with that move. But Cole Anthony, Ty Jerome, you got some scoring punch off the – actually, no. I think Cole Anthony is getting rerouted somewhere. So Ty Jerome off the bench. He was a beast last year for the Cavs, especially in that game 1 of the playoffs where he just went crazy. I thought Ty Jerome was the most improved player in basketball last season. So Memphis getting him is good. MPJ to Brooklyn. I mean, he better empty the clip there and work on his game, get busy, work on catching the ball in the mid-post, putting the ball on the floor. But D'Lo for $6.5 million a year, I think is really good business. Trey Jones to return to the Chicago Bulls for $24 million for 3 years. Jake LaRavia to the Lakers. I think he had some good moments last year for the Grizzlies and the Kings. I think he'll help. I think he'll give them some shooting, some offense, but I've never seen him play defense like that, so we'll see. Because all your flaws get exposed and magnified when you play for the Lakers. They're paying him 2 years, $12 million, so $6 million a year. I think that was a good move. Cam Spencer going back to the Grizzlies. So, yeah, Cole Anthony is – because they extended Jaren Jackson Jr. They gave him a monster contract. Monster. I forgot about Dorian Finney-Smith for the Rockets, too, when I was talking about their size. Man. B-Ball Paul going back to the Pistons. The Rockets, man, they got a good squad. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s going back to the Grizzlies for $240 million, 5 years. It's like, is he worth that much? I don't know if he's worth that much. Santi Aldama's also going back to Memphis. So I think Memphis will have a good team. You're going to have Ja. You're going to have Jalen Wells. You're going to have Jaren Jackson, KCP, Edie. Then off the bench, Santi Aldama, Ty Jerome. It's going to be a pretty good team. It's going to be a pretty good team. And you're really taking Bane out of the equation. You're going to really lean into Ja and Jaren Jackson. But I don't know about Jaren Jackson. He's a very good defender, but offensively, he leaves a lot to be desired for me. He had a great year, but the way he played in game 1 of the playoffs against OKC was a joke. But anyway, I just feel like he hasn't improved enough for me offensively. Nico coming back to the Clips. Love that. Everybody knows how much I love Nico. 2 years. So does he have 2 more years left in the tank? I thought this was going to be his last year, but I guess 2 more years. I can see him retiring after that second year. Day'Ron Sharpe to Brooklyn. Back to Brooklyn. 2 years, $12 million. I thought maybe the Clippers could look at him. So solid. I mean, I don't know what to say about Day'Ron Sharpe. I don't watch the Nets like that. Colin Gillespie back to the Suns. Joe Ingles, bitch ass, back to the Wolves. Zaire Williams, 2 years, $12 million with the Nets. I will not be watching the Nets next year. I can tell you that. Sorry to my boy Caleb from Nets Cast and Malika and what's that guy's name? Pod Thorn. Those guys. Sorry to them. Cash, Saint, those guys in the Hoop Spaces group. Yeah, unfortunately, I will not be watching many Nets games. Let's see. The Blazers buying out Ayton, so they're going to really go into Donovan Clingan this season. Jabari Smith, 5 years, $122 million, by the way. So they're going all in with that. So they've extended Jabari Smith. They've extended Steven Adams, Ime Udoka, retained Fred VanVleet, Jayshawn Tate, Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green, of course, getting KD. Bobby Portis back to the Bucks, $44 million. Of course, James Harden back with the Clippers for $2 million. I thought, him getting $40 million, considering what he did last year, is fair. And his contract aligns right with Kawhi. So looks like James Harden will be a Clipper for about 4 years. That'll be his Clipper tenure, it seems. Which, yeah, 4 years. It's a pretty good amount. James Harden has now been a Clipper more than he's been. Yeah, he's literally let's see. He was on OKC for 3 years. This will be his 3rd year as a Clipper. So that's the next one we got to pass. Is if James Harden's a Clipper longer than he was a Thunder, he'll literally only be a Rocket longer than he was a Clipper. The Magic are declining options on Mo Wagner and Caleb Houston. Man, Mo Wagner would be a good get. How much longer is he out for? I think they'll probably bring him back, though, no? The Celtics should look into him. Let's see. Is there anyone else? Was that it? Eric Gordon is going back to the Sixers. Colin Sexton to the Hornets. That could give him some more scoring. Spencer Dinwiddie, Colin Sexton, and LaMelo. Julius Randle's going back to the Wolves. 3 years, $100 million. I think he completely earned it. Good for him. Kelly Oubre is going back to the Sixers. Malik Beasley, that was investigating Detroit Pistons on allegations of gambling. Interesting. Yeah, the LeBron stuff's been weird, though. He's opting in, and then Rich Paul saying we understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage of his life and career. I mean, what is that supposed to mean? You have Luka on your team. Jalen Williams going back to the Thunder for 3 years, $24 million. That's Jalen Williams from Arkansas. Garrett Temple still in the league somehow, signing 1 year to return with the Raptors. Davion Mitchell stays with the Heat. That was a complete no-brainer. Sam Merrill, 4 year, $38 million. So they basically chose Sam Merrill over Ty Jerome. I don't know about that decision. Yeah, Davion Mitchell, $12 million a year for 2 years. Pretty solid deal for him. Then the Cavs traded for Lonzo, losing Ty Jerome for Isaac Okoro. So Isaac Okoro didn't really pan out. High draft pick for them. Lonzo to the Cavs should be interesting. Naz Reid stays with the Wolves for 5 years, $125 million. So all these big deals is why they could not retain. It's that new CBA. Couldn't retain to kill Alexander Walker. So unfortunate for them. And I think that's about it. That's all that's relevant. We're at the hour mark now. That's it for me in this one, guys. Appreciate all of you for dime fell off. What is that supposed to mean? Why? Why am I washed? I'm definitely not washed. Come on, man. What's up, Daniel Barry? I'm gonna what's it called? I'm gonna write down who was in this live so we can shout you guys out on Twitter. Let's see.